All right, well, welcome again to the information session on the Academy on the First College Year. My name is Stephanie, or Steph as I like to go by, and I'm joined by a couple of colleagues today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a moment, but I did want to let you know that we're recording this session, and afterwards we'll send you a copy of the recording and the slides. We like to keep this informal. We do have some information to share, but to be honest with you, any question that you have is more important even than the content that we prepared. So please feel free at any time to ask a question, and you can do so by posting in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and speak if you would like to. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let my colleagues introduce themselves. Dr. Williams, I see you on camera.
Thank you, Dr. Foote. I'm Felita Williams. I'm the Senior Vice President for Services here at the Gardner Institute. And one of the programs I have a privilege of working with is the Academy of the First College Year. I am a career educator. Spent some time at the two-year institution, sometime 10 years, another 18 years at the system level. And so I have both types of experience, and I look forward to working with you with the Academy of the First College Year. Thank you, Dr. Foote.
Thank you so much. And I believe we also have Dr. Cindy Kane. She's one of our facilitators too. Hey, Cindy.
Hi there, I'm Cindy Kane. I'm fairly new to the Gardner Institute team, but a career educator as well, with positions at multiple types of institutions in both academic and student affairs roles. And first college year content has always been my favorite, so really looking forward to being a part of the Academy this year.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And I also have some other colleagues who are joining us. Katie Locke is with us. She's our Senior Director for Marketing and Communication. Katie?
Hi, Steph. Thank you. Welcome to the information session. We're very glad you're here.
And our colleague Brittany Connor, who's off camera, will be moderating. So again, welcome to everyone, and to those who have just joined. We are recording this session, and you'll receive a copy of the recording and slides afterwards. Again, feel free to ask any questions that you have. You don't need to wait until the end, and you have the ability to unmute and to come on camera if you want to. And I see Larmont is on camera. Hello, Larmont. Nice to see you. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So if you're not familiar with the Gardner Institute, we just celebrated actually over the weekend our 26th anniversary, or we began our 26th year. So we're a nonprofit organization geographically located in Western North Carolina, but our staff, including those of us online right now, are in distributed areas across the United States. Several of us are in North Carolina in different places, and then we have folks across the states. So our focus has been on supporting institutions toward graduating more students. So making sure that all students have access to higher education and also have the support that they need to earn a credential. So that's our mission statement on the screen, and a little bit more about us. We did introduce ourselves a few moments ago, those of us who are here. This is our full facilitation team for the Academy, and our colleague, Dr. Sarah Stein-Koch, is not with us today, but she is a very important role, has a very important role as a facilitator in this particular Academy. But hopefully you'll have an opportunity in the time we have together today to interact with all of us. But if not, you'll have a chance to follow up with us if you have any particular questions. So I want to start a little bit, start us off with a little bit of history. I'm not a historian, but I'm really fascinated by American higher education history, and particularly the history of the first-year experience movement. On the screen in front of you is, on the left-hand side, a preface from a foundational book that was published a long time ago, 1989, and it was called The Freshman Year Experience. And one of our co-founders is one of the authors of this book. This preface, to me, even though this was published, the book was published in 1989, there's so many aspects of it that are still very relevant to the work that we do today with first-year students. So as I think about this opportunity with the Academy, there's one part of this that I want to draw your attention to in particular in this preface. And in it, the authors say, as high school enrollments have declined, colleges have not only intensified the recruitment of prospective freshmen, but have also increased efforts to retain students once they have enrolled, which we're still doing. because retention research tell us that the first year of college is crucial to college success. We need to know more about who freshmen are and why they stay or leave. And I think this is very true to the work that we do still in higher education today. While we may not use the terminology freshman, I know some folks do, but first year students, we need to understand why it is that they are enrolling in our institutions and why they choose to stay or leave. And that's really at the heart of this. So in this academy, we seek to help institutions answer that question in a lot of different ways by looking at the curricular, the co-curricular experiences that students have in the first college year and having a more holistic understanding of what the first year experience looks like and how we might better support students through into and through that transition. Some folks think that the first year experience is a relatively recent movement, but on the right-hand side, there's another image, and this comes from a book that was published in 1928. And this book documents the work of the early first year seminars, which at that time were called orientation courses. And in it is a lot of really interesting information if you ever have a chance to look at it, hyperlinked in the presentation. And although it's based in California, I think that it served at that time as an inspiration for a lot of institutions across the United States as they first began to offer these sorts of courses and experiences for students. So they have a long and rich history in American higher education, as you all may well know. So now I want to invite you to think about why it is that you're here and also why you are compelled from your perspective to think about supporting students in the first year. Are there things that you're hoping to learn about or to do differently? Are there things that you're experiencing that are really motivating you to seek out this type of opportunity? So if you are willing, I would invite you to share in the chat, or you can unmute and share your why with us. So I'll give you a few moments to think about that. I don't see anything in the chat yet. Oh, there we go. I knew if I looked away for a moment, something would appear. All right, so Amy says student success and retention is a strategic initiative and first year experience is a key part of that. Absolutely. We want to keep more students in the first year. There are only a finite number of students, I know you all know this, coming into college as first year students, and we want to try to retain those that we've recruited and make sure that they are feeling a sense of belonging at the institution.
Are we
Yeah,
like
Ron.
giving our reason why we are in higher education?
I think, well, you can share that too if you want to. I think the why for this, like why this particular academy, why is it that you're motivated to support first year students?
I guess mainly because I know what it feels like to almost slip through the cracks, and I refuse to let these other students fall where they can rise. Just I want to be standing in the gap between potential and progress. Um, I speak the language of those who were counted out and turned out, burnt out, all because, we've all been there. So it's just, I heard that this was a great resource. And so I'm trying to take it all in as much as I can and hear from other professionals and just be able to be the best beacon I can for our students.
Thank you so much, Lamont. I really appreciate that. As a student myself who slipped through the cracks my first year and ended up academically dismissed, what you've said really resonates with me and with my own personal motivation. And Cindy said, powerful motivation. Thank you for sharing. I feel like we need a t-shirt that, encapsulates what you've just shared. It's really inspiring. Anyone else want to share? Well, I don't want to make assumptions, but I know, some of us are motivated to support first-year students because of our own experience. I know many years ago, that's what initially motivated me, and it continues to motivate me in this work today. And then, of course, practically speaking, many of us are trying to help our institutions to maintain vitality, which means, keeping the students that we have, is really critical to that particular mission. So thank you all for sharing and for being part of this event. I appreciate it. So now you may be wondering, how does this all relate to what I'm going to be invited to do in the academy? So I think we try to center ourselves in the why. Why is it important? Why is the first year important? Why are we here? What are we trying to gain from this experience? And in this academy, we engage institutional teams as they look at these foundational aspects of student success in the first year. So we know the first year is more than an initial orientation experience. It's more than a first year seminar. It's, the totality of everything, the curricular and the co-curricular, the intentional and even the unintentional. It also includes aspects of student development and transition, things that, we are able to support, and then things that, may be off our radar. So we draw on a large array of research and practice literature and our collective experience to help you all think about how you might approach better understanding these different aspects of the first year, and then think through, what type of project you might want to focus on moving forward. So what could you do to improve student success in the first college year? And the culmination of the academy is a plan to plan. So it's an initial planning document where you're taken through a variety of guided questions, and then you think about what it is that you might want to focus on and who should be involved in that work moving forward. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. So very specifically, the approach that we take in the academy, we have a variety of modules, and each of them is focused on a different facet of this holistic understanding of the first year. So we look at, again, the curricular and the co-curricular experience. And we also look at, what it takes to build capacity around this. So how can we, use our institutional resources, including the human resources, to better support students in the first college year? So we have some outcomes on the left-hand side of the screen. And then I mentioned just a few moments ago, the deliverable, the plan to plan. The plan to plan is actually something that as a team you would work on in each module. So you get your plan to plan when we begin the academy, and with each module, there are specific questions, and you're invited to look for data, so institutional data that helps support your understanding about a particular aspect of the first year. So understanding about, again, the curricular and the co-curricular and the existing support efforts at the institution. So at the end of that, you'll have a pretty robust beginning for a plan that you might be able to further develop and implement at your institution. You may be wondering who should be involved in this work. Well, I always like to joke that this academy is really designed for anyone who cares about the first college year. So it doesn't have to be the person who is in charge of anything related to the first year at your institution. There are a lot of people at your institution, I'm sure, that care about first year students, and we want those folks to be involved. And then specifically, if you're looking for particular roles, we encourage you to think about faculty and instructors who teach introductory or gateway courses, as we call them at the Gardner Institute, first year program leaders and staff, institutional research staff, because they hold the key to the insight that many of us need to really verify or challenge our assumptions about the first year. So they have a lot of rich data, many data that just sort of sit on the virtual shelf that we haven't taken advantage of. So they're great partners for this particular work. Chief academic officers and staff, student success support leaders and staff, students who have been involved in some way, whether they be peer leaders, orientation leaders, teaching assistants, deans, department heads, and individuals who are in charge of first year enrollment programs. Admissions officers are also, fantastic collaborators in this work because whatever it is that you end up doing, they will help to promote it, especially to prospective students. So 3 to 5 is sort of the target number that we've set but you can have as many as 15 if you wanted to involved in the academy. So if you wanted to create a strategic committee, a committee that would begin their work here in the academy and then continue that, they could be, a first year strategic committee, then you might invite all of them to be a part of this so they can get that foundational understanding and be involved in that initial plan to plan. Now I want to talk just briefly about some of the things that folks have done in their work in the academy. So what types of areas have they focused on? What are their why that they've identified for this particular academy experience? So we've had a number of institutions that have come to us because they are interested in revamping or redesigning an existing first year seminar. And some of them have had half semester versions of a first year seminar, have had no credit, have had 1 credit, have had pass fail versions. And so moving to a more upgraded version, so moving to a course that's, credit bearing, letter graded, that involves, a variety of people teaching the course. Also something that's required. These are all things that people have worked on while they're in the academy with us. Also, we've had a lot of institutions that have come to us because they want to move into an action phase. So they've had a lot of talk at the campus or campuses about why it's important to support first year students, but not a lot of action. So not much happening to really make change in terms of the system. And so moving into an action phase is also a motivation and a project that some have focused on. Another area that we see, and this is one that I can definitely relate to from my own experience in higher education, but thinking about the constellation of support that exists at the institution for first year students and inventorying that and coordinating those supports and structures so that all students have access to them and so that they're intentional and not duplicative. So that's a really important aspect of this work too. Helping to support students. So thinking about ways in which we can be intentional with first year students to communicate belonging, to help them also develop skills, habits, and dispositions of successful students. And sometimes it's not developing them, but it's unearthing them so that students recognize what they need to be successful, because many of them, have already that knowledge, but it's a matter of applying it. And then I think I mentioned the others, the belonging and then the comprehensive first year experience. And Felita, you've done this work with me many times in the academy. Are there any additions that you might have about the areas of focus for the various institutions?
Well, I would just say one thing, Steph, is that these are just some of the areas previously done. This work is designed for you to customize it to your institution. So if you don't see your idea up here, that's great. You do the idea that you think will best fit your institution, and then our goal is to help you flesh it out. So we don't have a cookie cutter mode. We simply are helping you to use certain strategies to get the results that you want and that you need. Thanks. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And this is a great place to pause to see if there are any questions from you all, because now we've talked a little bit about the academy in terms of the structure, the content. There are modules that you'll go through. So we have synchronous meetings, which we'll talk about more in just a moment. We encourage you to have team time outside of those synchronous meetings, and then you'll have a little bit of team time in the meetings along with support from us. But what other questions do you all have about the structure, the content, the deliverable?
And just remember, you can also drop your question in the chat if you don't want to unmic or turn on your camera. That's just fine. We'll keep an eye on the chat as well.
That's right. Thank you. Well, we're going to mind the chat, but we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide, which actually is for Katie. Katie.
Thanks, Steph. And I apologize if my camera freezes. It's been freezing all day. So how do you become involved in the Academy? So the Academy does require an application. It's a very short, very brief application for questions. And we would ask for no more than 250 words per question. And the point of the application is not to judge you or figure out where you're at in your journey in first year experience, but really to make sure that what you're hoping to get out of the Academy is copacetic with what we will be planning on delivering. So just making sure it's a really good fit. We have information here on the synchronous meetings. They're listed below. And as Steph said before, they are recorded. So if not everybody on your team can attend, they can always watch the recording. And the start date is November 13th. I believe, and I don't have it off the top of my head, we usually ask for those applications come in about a week in advance so that we can get an agreement signed. The fees are here. They are based on your undergraduate enrollment as determined by College Navigator. If you are part of our transformation process, the fees to participate in this are included in the fees that you've already paid us. So you don't need to worry about these, but you can see the different bands there. And we do offer this as you can pay it over 2 fiscal years if that will, if that aids you in being able to participate. We know budgets are really tight. Thank you, Brittany. Brittany said the application deadline is November 7th. So if you need I know that's really coming up quickly. I can't believe October's almost over. If you need a little bit more time, you can just let us know. Thanks, Steph. And we always do like to pause and say, this isn't the only thing that we do. In fact, all the things that we do are not listed here. And sometimes people end up in the wrong info session. So here is a list. If there's something where you're like, oh gosh, we were actually really thinking about doing curricular analytics, which is a great offering and another great way of focusing on your first year. Just shoot us an email at info@gardnerinstitute.org, and I will set up some time for you to talk to 1 or 2 of our staff to help you make sure that you're in the right place that will best meet the needs of your institution.
Thank you so much, Katie. I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share now. And well, I'll just put up our email address again. So we have, well, this is our website that we have for the Academy of the First College Year. And then we'll go back to the email address. If you have any questions or want more information about this or our other offerings, you can email us at info@gardnerinstitute.org. Thank you, Katie, for putting that in the chat. So we stop the share now, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And if you would prefer, we can pause the recording so you can ask any questions that you might want to ask without having them preserved forever.